Hey everybody, this is Game Show Guru, aka Gem Queen again. This is part 3 of My Mom the Monster. I just want to express a lot more things to what my mom has done. I hope that, this isn't nightmares or, some crybaby story. This is all true. All the nightmares that I went through, everybody who has seen this, I want you to understand. This is not a crybaby story. This is not a creepypasta. This is not a horror tale, done in fakeness. This is the real thing. This is the real person you're seeing with all of this. I want you guys to understand that I survived 21 years of being abused. I want you guys to understand that I survived it. I want you to understand that what my mom and my dad and my step-parents did was wrong. In 1987, around the summertime, I have never been this freaked out in my life. A group of my mom's prostitute gal pals came down to crash at our place. I don't know why, since I was 3 years old. I don't want to know, even to this day. And for other reasons, it's still the most freakiest thing I went through. The biggest orgy I have ever seen. All of my mom's prostitute gal pals brought in their boyfriends or their clientele into our home. They brought in their drug pals, okay, and came down here and just partied like this was their new drug den. For some reasons, I don't know why, that I had to see this growing up as a kid, as a little boy, but I couldn't believe this. And my mom was actually going with it like it never happened. She's out there getting totally stoned, getting super high, drinking like a fish, while all of her friends are all over the house, making out, doing orgies, butt naked, or clothed, or whatever. I couldn't believe all the cars that were out by the driveway or, by the streets and so on and so forth. Thank God my grandmother finally put an end to this. Everybody was there. The police, the FBI, the DEA, everybody was there. And I was sitting in my room with the door locked. No food, no drink. While they were blasting Bon Jovi and Poison records as loud as possible. I can't even believe I can still hear, normally. Thank God I'm not deaf. She tried to get me into bartending at a very early age. She tried to get me into a life of crime. And not just stealing like petty larceny like a candy bar. I'm talking about like getting me into a life of crime like hot wiring cars, stealing from cash registers, pickpocketing other random people. Try to steal from, how to break into homes. She taught me all of this. I can't believe she would do something like this to teach me how to, go into a life of crime. When you see those movies or TV shows where you see that, a robber comes into like a museum and steals like, the Hope Diamond or something like that. That's what it felt like. Little kid, 3 to 6 years old, going to other people's homes without security systems and robbing them blind without them even knowing. Wow. Is that what you call a parent? Or is that what you call a psycho? I can't believe my grandmother raised 4 daughters, all nightmares, and seeing how much disgrace that she's put into the family. My grandmother was the only person in my life that I felt safe. I mean, I know she's gone after all these years. She's still a great woman for everything that she had to go through. She's dealt with this longer than even I have. She's dealt with this for 40 years, over 40 years. Okay? She's dealt with every single member of her family. Her daughters, her sons, her grandkids, and her husband. All of this was putting so much strain on my grandmother. No wonder she passed away in 2001. When she passed away, I was devastated. I mean, she was 63 years old, not even a senior citizen yet. I literally took it the hardest when my grandmother passed. I mean, ever since she passed away, I felt like I had no, protection. The last 4 years that I was living with my step-parents until I moved out, because when my grandmother died, that was it. I moved out. I did. I moved out. I went home. I went back to Seattle, Washington, from Syracuse, New York. I took a cross-country trip in my 74 Ford Maverick with all my stuff. I took all my information. I went to Henniger and I told them to transfer me to Seattle, Washington, which they did. I finished my high school down there. Passed with my Regents diploma in June of 2004. Nobody was there to support me, which was devastating. But you know what? Let me say this. My grandmother is my guardian angel, and ever since that, when she passed, her soul is still with me. So that's the best part. Ever since I got my Regents diploma, I got my summer break. I, spent most of my time in Fort Lauderdale, just to get some sun, and, hang out with some friends and, party a little bit. No alcohol was involved. Came home, came back to Seattle, got myself into Washington State University, took my 4 core years, and graduated with my bachelor's degree. Came back to Syracuse because I had no other place to go. My girlfriend left me because she was moving on. Not saying she was heartless either, but still. She moved on. She found somebody to love, which the guy is amazing. His name was Rick. He was a great person. My girlfriend's name was Jessie. So they were met for each other. They moved to somewhere in Florida, so I had no other place to live. I had no other family members to go to. I had no other friends. So I had to go back to Syracuse, and I've been stuck there for probably about a few more years until 2010. Till 2010, I moved back to Syracuse, and I'm still here to this day. I'm not leaving. I'm not ever leaving Syracuse. I'm not ever leaving Seattle again. I don't want to deal with the harsh weather. I don't want to deal with anything in Syracuse. I consider Syracuse burned in my memory. I think it's gone. Everything I had to go through in school, everything I had to go through with my family, and everything. I couldn't believe it. I achieved a lot in my life after my grandmother passed. Ever since then, ever since my mom died, I achieved more and more and more because that shackle was taken off my leg. In 2006, I wrote my book about my mom being a monster, all the grueling details that I had to get to a publisher, and he looked at it and was shocked for all the nightmares I went through. And then when my stepfather passed away, I was still, in Seattle. I was in Seattle. This was months after he passed away. I was in Seattle around the summer of 2010, and I've been here ever since. This is my home. This is the way I love to live. I love Seattle. I was raised here for many years of my life. I have moved around a lot, but it doesn't mean I hate, all the other cities and states. I just don't like Syracuse the most because I have a lot of bad memories there. There's been times I've lived in Syracuse where I've been mugged, I have been shot, I have been stabbed, I have been tased, I have been nightsticked, I have been harassed, and so on and so forth. When I've lived here in Seattle since then, I don't think it has ever happened, and thank God. I'm glad that I'm back on the West Coast. I'm glad that, I don't have to deal with my mom or any of the other things. But I still have the memories. I still remember them. But, through all the times that I've sat here keeping my mouth shut about it, when I was in college, when I was in schools, when I was in therapy, it was like the only time I, finally, went to therapy in Seattle, I really wanted to open up. I opened up this core of anger about my mom and my dad and my step-parents, and the more that I opened up, the more I wanted to express it out in the open. When I wrote the book, I got some supporters, but it just felt like they're saying I was doing this for a plea or a cry of help. Like I was doing this, like saying I'm panhandling for money, which was never true. I'm glad people who read my book for all those years and saw the nightmares with their own, in print. I'm glad people, wrote letters saying, how the hell did she do this? Why the hell did she do this? And, believe it or not, even I wrote at the end, it said, no one will ever know how she did it and why. All it was, to me, after all these years, is still a mystery. It's still a mystery to this day. Pardon. So, this is the second to last part of the abuse I went through. I wanted to talk a little bit about the good side instead of making it all down and depressing. So I wanted to kind of feel like there was some good sides to my childhood and my life. So at least the good stuff happened after my parents died. The person who supported me and the one who ever loved me in my life. My girlfriend Jessie, my grandmother, Patricia, my grandfather Earl, they all loved me, they supported me, the people that ever took care of me ever since these years. I thank them for all down there. I'm glad that they're, they lived the life that they wanted. They saw, they've been my guardian angels ever since, childhood, ever since they passed away. But I wanted to kind of talk about the good sides instead of all bad sides. But the final part will be a little bit more of the total downside. the final nightmares that I had to go through. There's many more that I wanted to speak of, but didn't want to put the whole entire downfall to it. So I want to thank you all for supporting these videos. I thank you all. This is Gabe Shiguro signing off. Bye bye, everybody.